Hi everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a happy elephant. Awesome trunk, little tusk, cute little smile, great ears, little tail. So adorable, I love it. So, and he does stand up by himself, which makes him even more awesome. The only thing that might not be quite so awesome is band-wise. It is very band heavy. It is, in total for the blue that I used on this guy, which is pretty much everything, it was 603 bands, so a little over a whole pack of bands for the elephant. So if you're still with me and you're going to make this guy, you're also going to need 8 white bands for the tusks, then your mouth, the eyes. I did not put cheeks on them just because they had the tusks and kind of, I liked them that way. So, so you want the eyes. I used the 9mm pony beads, so you can use smaller ones if you wanted to, or use bands. I'll show you how to do that too. But we'll get started here. First we need to make the face parts here. So the tusks are pretty simple. They are just double bands on a chain. So it's one band, white, or whatever color you want the tusk to be. On the hook, wrap it around once to the figure 8, grab both, wrap it again, that's doubling it. And then you want to pull through 3 more doubled bands. So put it on, wrap it around, pull it through, back on, kind of center it a little bit. That's 1, 2, and 3. And then pull through 2 bands, whatever color your elephant is going to be. So that's one of the little tusks. You'll want 2 of these. Then if you're going to do the beads for the eyes, we'll put the bands through them later. If you use the smaller beads, you'll have to thread the band through with like a piece of craft wire folded in half. But if you don't have beads, you can still use bands. If you want a bigger eye, you use 2 bands. If you want a smaller eye, just use 1 band. I'm going to make one with 2. You put it on the hook, wrap it around, then you grab all the bands, wrap them around again, and then pull through 2 bands the color of your elephant. Like that. So you want 2 eye bands as well, if you're going to do it this way. And then we also have the adorable little tail, which is 2 bands, I think. 1, 2, 3, no, 3 bands. I actually had to, my notes for this guy actually went over to 2 pages, so I had to make sure there. 3 bands on the hook, wrap them around once, and then you're going to pull through 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 double bands. So on the hook, double it up, and then pull it through everything. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, like that. And then you'll pull through 2 bands that are the color of your elephant. Like that. So we have the tusks, tail, and the eyes. We also need to make the ears, which this is what they look like once they're off the loom, before we put them on. So you're going to need your loom, and we're going to have the right side towards us. I know it's odd, it's all wrong. What we're going to do, 2 bands, drop them on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th pins over here on the side. And this whole thing is double banded. I suppose if you wanted to try and use a few less bands, you could make these single banded. They kind of be a little bit floppier. That's really up to you. I didn't try it that way, so I can't tell you if it'll turn out alright. So then you're going to take 2 bands, and we're going to, starting at this where we drop the, starting here, right below, we're going to zigzag up and stop up here. So start here and zigzag. I'm so not used to using this side of the loom. It's been a long time. And stop right there. So you can see where we have our drop bands. We start before and then we kind of end off that last one. And you want to push these down. Then we're going to do another zigzag starting right here. Just go around. And come off to here. Push those down, and then right here we're going to go up the side just along the left. Like that. Then up here on this pin we're going to do a cap band, just be 2 bands wrapped around, so 1 and 2. With a looser cap band. So like this, and you're going to want to make 2 ears. So I mean, you'll have to either repeat this up here and then come back and loop it, or just rewind, and it's pretty simple to remember, so hopefully it won't be too bad. So once you get it on the loom, you'll turn your loom around, and starting at the cap band, you'll go in and grab the top 2 bands, which are part of this little chain right here. Grab those 2 bands, pull them up, then grab in the next one the top 2 bands, pull them up, and then again top 2 bands, pull them up. So I just made a little chain right there. Then coming back here to where the cap band was at the beginning, we're going to loom out the other 2 bands, pulling them back towards themselves. Then go up to the next pin, take the top 2, pull them back towards themselves, then the other 2. So we're just going to loom out of the pins up here first. Next one, top 2 back, next 2 back. So like that. And we'll come back here to the beginning. And you're going to go through a lot of bands. Grab those bottom 2, pull them back, then the next 2, and just keep looming that zigzag over towards the left. Like that. So once we're here, what we want to do is with these drop bands that we put there, we're going to puff out those 3 pins. So I'm going to hang on to these bands. I'm going to go in through the bands that are on the pin, grab those 2 bands that I dropped, pull them up through, put both ends on my hook, and then I'm going to pop the bands off the pin, and then what's on my hook will go back onto the pin. Same thing in the other ones. Hold those bands, put my hook through, grab them, pull them up, both ends on, pop them off, and then put them back on. And same thing. Like that. So now your 4 here, they each should have 4 bands on those pins. So now we want to grab some more bands. What we're going to do is combine these 2 up here and then these 2 down here. So you can either pick up the bands like this and bring them up, or just put them on your hook. I'll show you in a second. So I have these, and I'm just going to puff them basically. Go in through all those bands, pull them up, both ends on my hook, pull them off, and I'll just put them on a pin to hold them for now. Or you can just go in through the bands on this one, go in through the bands over here, and then I kind of just leave it on the hook, on the pin, so I don't lose it. Pull it up through, twist my hook, pull it up through the other one, put it back on, and the ones that are on my hook will just go onto a pin. But we just combined those two pins together into one section like that. And then, if you look at this, and if you can't see it now, it's fine, because I can show you after we pull it off the loom too. But you have these little spots right here. There's one right here, right below where we combined, and then there's another one right here. In this one right here, I want to pull up 2 more bands. So I'm going to pull them up, put both ends on my hook, and then just set it onto the pin. Like that. So you can take this off. I'm going to do that by loosening these up back here first. And I'll take my hook and go in through each of these bands like this. And then take it off. And it's going to be probably a little distorted. It's going to look maybe all squished together. Depends what kind of bands you used. These ones I used on this one were kind of sticky, so they were not the best. But once you have it like this, as long as you have all the bands centered, I'm just going to slide my hook out of the first 2. And that one holds pretty well, so you don't have to worry about that one a whole lot. This next one, however, is a little more iffy on whether or not it'll hold. So if you're not comfortable with that holding, you can take another band, not the same color. Just take another band, pull it through that section, and just make a little slip knot in it. So then you know those won't fall apart before we get to them. This last 2 bands that are in here that we pulled through, you can take them out and they should stay there pretty well. If they fall out, these aren't a big deal because they're not holding anything together. They're just there to hold the ear on better. So that's what it'll look like when you're done, either with or without the holding band in the center. So you need 2 ears, so you'll have to rewind and redo the other ear. And then we need to do legs. I've already made 3 of them, so you can get all of them on the loom at the same time. Just put one on and then the other one, and just you have room to do that. I'm just going to make one more to show you how to do it. It's pretty simple, I think, hopefully. So if you're going to put all of them on, just kind of start down here. You only need 4 pins. So here, and then skip a pin, go to the next one, skip a pin, next one, skip, all the way up. That's 2 bands, and from the center pin we're going to go out to the 4 pins around. Like that. Center pin is going to get a cap band. It's 2 bands wrapped around 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. Then go in through the cap band, grab the top 2 bands wherever they are, pull them up through the cap band back towards themselves, all the way around. Like that. Push them down. Now we just do 3 rows all the way around the little box. So it's 2 bands. Like that. Then you'll flip the bottom 4. Push down. Do another row, 2 bands. Like that. Flip the bottom 4 again. Push down, and now you want to go in here and grab the cap band and pull it up to the top of the pin, and then just kind of push down around it, so otherwise it'll be the wrong direction when you take it off. So we'll do our 3rd row. flip the bottom 4. And once again, push everything down. Make sure that the center is pulled up. So we have our 3 rows that we need to do. And then what we'll do is I'm going to put my hook in. So I'm starting on one side, grab those bands, go up, get the next ones. And then as I come around to the other side, I'm going to make sure that this stays so it has the lines, because otherwise it might kind of collapse in on itself. I'm going to make sure to kind of twist it around so that part stays out. Otherwise it'll turn inside out. Just keep going around until I get all those bands on my hook. Like that. I usually squish the bottom flat for the foot. And then we'll take 2 bands and you'll pull them through the first 8 bands on your hook. Like that. I'm going to slide your hook out of the bands you pulled through. Like that. And then pull through 2 bands on the other side. Like that. And those should stay just fine without anything pulled in them. So you need to make 4 of those. They're fairly simple, just a little time consuming to make. So I think that we have everything that we need now to get started with our elephant. So how we do this is we start at the trunk, we come down, we make the head, we put the ears on, and then the head actually we close it off before we go into the body, which we start again after. It's just the easiest way to get the best shape, so that's what I decided to do. So don't be surprised when we go, alright, close it off, and you're like, wait, where's the body? So starting here, and then it comes down. So in the middle of the loom somewhere, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th pin is the middle. We're going to make a 3-pin cap band. So 2 bands this way. Make a little triangle basically. 2 bands over here, and then 2 bands here. Center's going to get the cap band. It'll be 2 bands wrapped around 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Then you go in through the cap band, grab the top 2 bands wherever they are, pull them back towards themselves. Like that. And then we'll do a row around with the 2 bands. I don't know why I keep telling you 2 bands, because it is double banded. So band, band. So like that. And then you'll flip the bottom 4 on the 3 pins. Push it down. Then we're going to do a half row on here. So it's going to be just bands on the left side and the right side, like that. And then we're only going to flip the pin up here. So you flip the bottom 4, then you push everything down. Then we'll do another half row. So again, the left and the right. Then flip the bottom 4, push it all down. Now we'll do a row all the way around. Like that. So when we flip, this top point of the triangle here is going to have 4 bands to flip. And then on these side ones, it'll be 4 bands, and then another 4 bands. Same thing over here. 4 bands and 4 bands. Then you want to push this all down, and now you need to dig down in here, way down there, find that cap band and pull it up. And I probably distorted some doing that, but that's okay. We just need to get it up so it doesn't grow the wrong way. kind of get up on top of the pin and then push the bands all the way down. There. Then we're going to do another set of half rows. So 2 bands on the left, 2 on the right. Flip the bottom 4. Another set. Flip the bottom 4 on the top point. Push those all down. And do a row all the way around. Like that. Same thing as before. 4 up at the top, and then you'll have 8 on the sides. And you push it down, pull up the center, so it starts to, it's going to start curling over. Now we're going to do that one more time. Half rows again. Flip the top. Half row, left and right. And flip the top. Push down. Then we need a row all the way around. Flip like before. 4 up here, 8 on the sides. Push your bands down. Make sure that the trunk is pulled out all the way. And now what we want to do is we want to rotate this so that we can increase for the next portions. So I'm going to just take the 2 bands that are here, or the 4 bands that are up here, and pull them down to this pin over here. And these ones are going to come around to the center from where they were. Like that. And these ones I'm just going to move over one more. Basically just rotating them all one counterclockwise. That should be like this, just so the trunk is faced or pointing towards the left. So we're going to increase now. I'm going to grab the top 2 bands on this one, which they're on the wrong side, so I rotate this one more time over, and then I'll grab the top 2 bands. Where are you? Top 2 bands and pull them over. So there's no crossing in between here. The bands that are on this pin, they come around to here. The ones that are on this pin, they come around up here now. So we're going to increase this one right here as well. And for this one, it's hard to tell because they're all kind of right on top of each other. I can't tell you right away. This one I have to pick up all 4 of them, move them up, and then I can move the top 2 back. Like that. There's no crossing. The bands that are on this pin, they come around to this pin. And then over here, I can take the top 2 and move them over. I knew one of them was easy. So it should be like this now. Nose is centered, pointed towards the left. Then we're going to do a row all the way around with the 2 bands. Still doing it. Still telling you 2 bands. I can't help it. Like that. And you flip over the 2 bands underneath on every pin. Push down. And now we're going to increase again. We're going to increase the center pins right here. So I'm going to pick up the top 2 bands up here, see what side they're coming from, and then take them to that side. And the other 2 are going to go to the other side. Whatever side they're coming from, just take them to that side. Same thing down here. Coming from the left, so they're going to go to the left, and then the other ones will go to the right. So now we're at 8 pins. Now we want to put on our mouth band, which I lost. There it is. So it's going to be 1 band, and I'm going to double it on my hook, like that. And I'm going to go in through the bands that are on this pin, grab that doubled band, pull it up through, onto the top of the pin, and then pull it down. So it's wrapped around the bottom. Then I'm going to go in through the bands over here on the right, grab that mouth band, pull it up through, around the pin, pull it down. So now I'm wrapped around the 2 bands, or 2 pins, and then I'll slide it up, like that. Our next row is going to be our tusk row. So you want those. So your 2 bands right here, then our tusks. There's 1, and I'll put 2 bands here in the center, and then the other tusk. And then 2 bands around the rest. Like that. So the corners are going to have 2 bands to flip, and the center will have 4. Same on both sides. Like that. Push it down. Next we're going to do an eye row, but it's just going to be kind of a half row. So we'll start right here. Then the next spot over is going to be an eye on the left side here, the top, or top of the face. So here's an eye. And the next space will be 2 bands. Then another eye. And then 2 bands across the top here, like that. So just the half row. And then when we flip, we're only going to flip the pins on the left side by the eyes. So it'll be 4 bands over here. Like that. Push down. Then we're going to do another half row right on top of that. Same spot as we did before. Like that. And then once again, only flip the 4 pins on the left side. Then you want to push all your bands down, Then we're going to do a row all the way around, just normally. Like that. Then you'll flip the bottom 4 on the left side. And then on the front side here, you're going to have 8 bands on the ends, and then 4 in the center, and then another 8. So each pin should now have 4 bands on it. Just kind of unstick the face a little bit. Push everything down. So now we want to increase our face here. So starting here at this pin, I'm going to grab all 4 bands, pull them down a pin, and then I'll bring the top 2 back. No crossing. Then what I'm going to do up here, I'm going to take the pins, the bands that are on this pin up here, I'm going to move them up 1, then I'll come back to this last pin, and then I'll grab the top 2 bands and pull them up like that. So now it should be 4, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2 on this side. Then over on the other side, we're going to grab these 4 bands, pick them up, pull them up, bring the top 2 back. So we increase there. And then down here, I'm going to pick up these 4 bands, pull them down, and then come back up to the pin before, grab the top 2 bands, and bring them down to the empty pin. So on the other side, it's going to have 2, 2, 4, 2, 2. No, there's 4 here. So now we're on 12 pins total. So we're going to do a row all the way around with the 2 bands. Push them down here. We're getting close to being done with the face part, so that's good news. Like that. So we'll have 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, 4. Other side, 4, 2, 2, 4, 2, and 2. Push everything down. So we are ready to put on the ears. So we're going to put them on first before we put on any other bands. And they kind of wrap around the side. So what we're going to do is, if you're looking at the ear itself, you find that cap band that's there. And that's going to mark the part that's going to be pointed down. So like here's the cap band on this one. Down towards the bottom of the face. Make sure that when you're holding them, like, you don't have the cap band, but like this way, you want to make sure it's this way, so they're going to be opposite. So because the center bands, like I said, are the ones that are kind of the iffy ones, we're going to start with those ones to put on first. So I'm going to find those center bands we pulled through, and they're going to go right across the bottom. Like that. And then because the other open ends are at the top, we're just going to kind of let the ear come towards the inside. Then I'm going to grab the other bands on the end and put these on like that. So it's kind of tucked on the inside. Then we'll come down to the bottom ear, and you'll have the 2 bands that we pulled through. Remember, if these came out, it's not a big deal. We can put them back in. I'll show you again on the other ear. It looks like it. To make sure I put it in the right spot. Yep, I did. So let's put these on down here. So the ear's kind of cupped towards the inside. So that way we have access to flip our bands over and the ear's not on the outside. Like that. Then you want to flip your loom around to put the other ear on. So I'll take off the center one here. And again, you want to make sure, like this will be the wrong way, because here's the cap band over here. That's towards the eyes. We want the cap band needs to be towards the tusks and the mouth. So make sure you get that on there right. So find those center bands. Fingers. I'm just going to put them on. Then you let it kind of go towards the center. Come around to the other open point. Grab those bands, which I think I pulled one out. There we go. Grab those bands and put them on at the top. Like that. Then find the last ones. Just making sure I pulled them through at the same spot here. 1, 2. With that one differently. It's always great when you're like, ah, cap band, teardrop, teardrop, cap band, teardrop, teardrop. Like so. So there's the ears on. I'll turn it the other way though. So now we want to fill up the spaces that we didn't have bands. So there's 3 spots here and 3 spots below. So put 2 bands in those spots. Like that. So then you go ahead and flip the bottom 4 all the way around. And push your bands down. So now we need to reduce everything. So I'm going to unstick the bands, get them towards the center pin here. So they're all kind of squished towards the center. And starting at this pin down here, I'm just going to pick up the top 2 bands, see which way they're coming from, and these look like they're coming from the right, so I'm going to pull them over to the left. And the other bands will go up to the next pin. Then we'll come up to the next pin. I'll grab the top 2. They're coming from above, so they're going to go below. And the others will go above. Next pin up. They're coming from below, so they'll go above. These will come below. Then we'll come over to the other side. Grab the top 2. They're coming from down below here, so they're going to come over to the right. The other 2 will come down. Next pin. Coming from below, so they'll go above. Other 2 will go below. And then the last pin here, coming from above, so they're going to go below. And the other 2 will go above. Like that. Push everything down. Now we're going to do a row all the way around with the 2 bands, so it's kind of long stretches between them. Big long stretch there. Like that. So then on every pin you're going to have 4 reducing bands to flip over, and then 4 from the row before. So reducing bands, and then 4. And then once I pass these, I usually flip these towards the inside. Alright, so now push everything down, kind of pull the head and unstick it from the pins. Pull it up so it's not sticking on anything. So now we're ready to take this off the loom. So I'm going to start out here in one of the far points, put my hook in, and then just go around the circle. Being careful when I get towards the last ones. Probably put my finger over the top of it so it doesn't pop off before I get there. Get them all on there. You probably want to kind of stretch it back to try and center it again because we have those long stretches in there. Then you'll take 2 bands, pull them through everything that's on your hook. And put both ends back on, make your slip knot, kind of flatten it towards the back. Then once it kind of looks good, then pull tight, and then come in through the front, hide your band, your tail band. So the face looks funny when I first take it off. I mean, maybe you prefer it that way, but what I do is I take it and I squish the eyes together, and then I squish the whole thing. Kind of like squish the eyes towards the back to kind of flatten the face and make it so it has kind of this bridge of the nose here. If you have any goofy things on the sides of your trunk, just take your hook and go through and fix them. There might be, like right where we transitioned from the hook and then we expanded the first time, you might need to kind of tighten that up a little bit with your bands or with your hook. Just grab that little 2 band row and give it a tug to pull that up. With the mouth, what I did as well you take the mouth, grab it, and put it around the bottom of the tusks. Like that. And then if you want, you can reposition these so they kind of curl up. It's kind of up to you. Now that we finally have the ears secured onto something, you can take them and just stretch them out. Loosen up those bands. You can kind of position them. I had mine, or I have mine on mine, kind of flipped back. But I just like to stretch them out. So if you're not wanting to go on any further, you have a sweet elephant head right now. Whoop, whoop. But for those of you wanting to go on, what we need to do is to attach the head. We're going to actually use those kind of the closing bands that we had. So if you look here, we have the top of the hexagon, or the 6, because we are on 6 pins when we closed. So you have the top here, then you have side bands here, and here, and then over here as well. So you just want to find those 6 band points around. So making sure that you're having it centered, you want to go in through the 4 bands, these 4 sections, or the 4 little band parts here. I'm going to go in through those, and I'm going to pull 2 bands through. I'm going to pull 2 bands through right here. And I'll go across the other 4 bands. Pull 2 bands here. And right below that, there's the 4 bands. And then again. So that's what we're going to use to attach it to the body. If you actually have trouble with this, or even when we get a little further and you have trouble attaching the head to the body, because it does get a little difficult, you could just kind of scrap this whole part and just slip knot it into the body. You don't necessarily have to use these, but that was the best way to secure it after I made it. So a couple options there, but if you pull those 2 bands through those 4 sections for when we attach it to the body. So now you can put this aside for now, and we have our loom. And we're going to start in the center again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to make a X right around there. So everything's double banded. 2 bands across and 2 bands. Top 2 pins are going to get cap bands. It's 2 bands wrapped around 1 and 2. And then 1 and 2. So I'm going to go in through the cap band where the bands are on the bottom. So over here on the right, pull them up through, bring them back across. And the same thing over here. So we have a little X. Then we're going to do a row all the way around. Like that. Flip the bottom 4. Of course, if you already made the legs, I hope you don't give up now. I like that. So now we're going to expand everything. So starting over here on the right side, this top one here, I can just pick up the top 2 bands and bring them up a pin. There's no crossing, so we're good. But this one right here, I have to grab all 4 bands and pull them down a pin and then bring them top 2 back up. So there's no crossing here now. Over here, I have to take all 4 bands, pull them up, bring the top 2 back, And then down here, I can just grab the top two and bring them down. So there's no crossing of the bands in here, and that's what you want. So push those down. So now we're going to do 2 rows all the way around. So 2 bands. Like that, first row. And you'll flip the bottom 2 all the way around. Like that. Then we're going to do our second row all the way around. 2 bands. Like that. Flip the bottom 4 this time all the way around. So now what we want to do, I shouldn't have tucked that in, is we're going to expand everything. So first we're going to just take the 4 corners and move them out a pin on each end. So let's pick up all 4 bands and just pull them up. Same thing over here. Then down here we'll pull them down a pin. Like that. So expanding in the middle here first, this top right pin here in the middle. I'm going to grab the top 2 bands and I can just bring them up. There's no crossing. And then for this one, I have to pick up all 4 bands, bring them down a pin, and then I bring the top 2 back. So this middle section is expanded. Go over to the other side. For this one right here on the top middle, I can pick up all 4 bands and then bring them up, and then bring the top 2 back down. And then for this one, I can just grab the top 2 bands and bring them down a pin. So the middle bands are expanded now, but now we need to expand the corners as well. So for this one, I'm going to pick up the top 2 bands and I can just bring them up a pin. But for this one over here, I have to actually pick up all 4 bands, bring them all up a pin, and then bring the top 2 back. If you need to, flip this up over the top of the pin to help reduce some of that stretch. Then we'll do the 2 down here. This one I have to bring all 4 down a pin, and then bring the top 2 back. Then over here it's the same thing, all 4 down, and bring the top 2 back. Like that. And again, we'll flip this over that pin to help reduce some of the stretch. So like that. We're on quite a few pins now. 16 in total. So now we're going to actually come down here to the end, and I'm going to grab these 2 bands up here, bring them to the center. Then I'm going to bring these 2 bands and bring them to the center. Just on this end. Like that. It's time to turn my page. You have to take good notes. So now we are ready to start putting this guy together by adding the head. So how? We'll start down where the head is, I guess. But we'll put some other bands on first so that we can trap the head on, because it is so large, it doesn't want to stay on there very well. So we'll come right here and put on our bands, 2 of them. And we might as well just go all the way around for the row, except for up here where the head is going to go. So 2 bands all the way around, except for the end where we made the point. Alright, so now we need to put this on the loom. So I'm going to turn this around so the point is towards me, so it's a little easier to see. And I'm going to set the head onto the loom so that the tusks are pointing up. Because we actually kind of want it to be upside down, because as this grows, then it kind of turns and comes up the right way. So our bands that we pulled through that are towards the bottom, now with the head on the loom the way we want it. You gotta find those bands first. Like that. So I'm gonna take one side. So we still have the loose bands up here. I'm grabbing one side, and these are gonna go on the end here. I'll have to show you after I get it on, because like I said, it's a tight squeeze for the head at first. So once we get it on, it's going to look like this. I have it pulled through for one side. Then the other side that's over here, actually using your hook is probably a good idea as well if you can do that, and your finger. So put your hook in one side, finger in the other, and then get that band on there. For the other side, it's going to go across right here. This is probably the most difficult part of putting this guy together. And like I said, if it really is troublesome for you, just put 2 bands here, put the bands on the end, but maybe like wrap a little slip knot band around it so that you can see that that's where the head starts to be attached, and then you can slip knot the head in after you're all done. So once you get all 4 bands from that bottom row, we have the tusks up, bottom row, they're on the loom. I still have my bands through that second part. Then go ahead and grab those bands that are underneath and flip it over, because then that'll secure the head on there. And you'll do that for both, or all 3 ends, or pins rather. And get the other side. So now we got it. Head is secure. We still have the bands through because we're going to put the head on again a little bit later. So it should be like that now. So then what we're going to do is go ahead and go around the rest of the way and flip the bottom 2 bands. Head is still upside down. I think I'm losing my voice. Hopefully not. Push the bands down. Then come back around to the head part. And we need to attach that next row onto the pins. Same way. And if you want, what I'll do is this time I'm just going to take the bands. There's that one for this side. I'm going to put it onto my pins. Push it down as far as you can. Then do the other side. And remember, if I'm doing this, it's totally possible for you to do it. It just takes some patience. Get it on there. Holding your finger up over the top of the pin helps as well. Once you get the bands on there. And once you get them on, flip over that middle one. Those middle 4 bands that are underneath where the head is. So it looks like that this time. With the middle flipped over, the bands are through. So now what we'll do is we'll put the rest of the row on, and then we'll flip the sides. So let's go at the bottom, go up the right, and then come back and go up the left, or however that works for you. It gets a lot easier, I think. The head is the hardest part. So then you go ahead and flip the bottom 4 on the rest of the pins. We already did that end one. Just need to do the rest of them. Like that. And stick some things. Alright, so then what we want to do is up here by the head portion where we have the bands that went through, we want to increase this. So I'm just going to pick up the top 2 bands. These ones are coming from the right side here now. And I'm just going to bring them over to the right, and then these ones are coming from the left, so they're going to come over to the left. So I just increased right there on that little point, moved it back out. So then push those down. Turn it back around the wrong way, I guess. Make sure everything's pushed down. Our next row is going to be our tail row, so you want your tail. So that'll go right here. So then go all the way around for our tail row, 2 bands. Not sure why all of a sudden I got in the kick where I was like, I'm going to make some animals. They're so awesome. Made the elephant first. I was pretty excited how it turned out. And I made the giraffe and bands across here at the end where we increased. Then I made something next. Totally not sure about it yet. There's still something off. I love most of it, but when I'm finished with it, it'll be awesome. So like that. So all the pins are going to have 4 bands except for the top 2 where we increased to flip over. So it's kind of funny because sometimes I'm like totally gonna make this or make that, and then all of a sudden I look at like my Instagram or something and somebody be like, make this, make a happy elephant. I'd be like, I'm working on it. I usually send them a winky face. Sometimes they get excited because they actually read it again, or other times they don't answer. So push everything down. So we're going to do another row all the way around And then we're getting close to being done, so attaching the legs will be pretty easy for us because we've done that before. If you've made the other, my turtle and I guess my giraffe, because that'll be out at the same time as this one. So I'm not bored of the happy foods. Don't think that. It's kind of like, I really love chocolate. It's delicious. But if I have to eat it every day, it's not as fun anymore or not as tasty anymore. So like that. So flip the bottom 4 all the way around. And I don't want making the happy foods to not be fun anymore. So by varying it up with some other most adorable creations, I get excited about, or keep myself excited about creating things. So let me tell you, as soon as you decide that doing something is work, or it's required, it's not quite so fun anymore. It's like how I trick my kids, my youngest kids, into cleaning their room. It's like we make a game out of it, and you know, they're all for it. But if I actually say, go clean that up, they just kind of look at me like, you crazy. Clean? What is that? So unstick everything as much as you can. Tuck in the ends. Push all the bands down. Because now we're going to go around and reduce every other pin, basically. So starting right here, I'm going to pick up the top 2 bands. I'll see where they're coming from. These are coming from above, so I'm going to take them over to the opposite pin. They're coming from here, so they go to there. And the other 2 will go up. Go to the next pin up, grab the top 2 bands. They're coming from above, so they're going to go below. Next 2 bands will go above. Then go up a pin. Coming from above, so they'll go below. Other 2 will go above. And here we have top 2 from above, go to below. So now we have 4 pins on this side, 3 spaces. Coming over to the other side on the top here, grab the top 2. They're coming from the left, so they're going to go over to the right, and the other 2 will come down. So now they're coming from below, they'll go up, stay there. And those will go down. Top 2. Don't want me to take them. Coming from below, so they go above. The other 2 will go below. And then last pin here, coming from below, will go above. And the other ones will go below. So go ahead and push all of those bands down that are on those pins. So now we're going to start attaching the legs. So you want them. So with these, you're going to, if you have them holding next to the loom here, the bands that are on top are the ones that you're going to put on first. So if you hold it next to it, grab the top bands, put those on, and then just kind of flip it up over towards the center. So you have the other bands underneath. And then if we're starting right here, the next space will be 2 bands. And it's a long stretch for the legs and for the bands. And the same thing right here. Hold it up. You'll grab the top 2 bands. Those will go on the loom. And you kind of tuck it towards the center, and then you should be able to see the other bands underneath. And there'll be 2 bands across this end. Flip it around. Same thing. Grab the top 2 bands. Put it on. And then again, flip it up. Check for your bands so you can see them. Next space is 2 bands. Then we have another foot for leg. Top 2 bands. Flip it over, make sure you can see those bottom bands, and then a band across the bottom here. So like that. So now flipping, things are tight here, so be careful. You might have to kind of hold your individual pin bar as you flip. I'm going to grab the, it's going to be, every pin should have 4 reducing bands, and then 4 bands from the row before to flip over. So 4 reducing bands, and then 4 from the row before. I usually do like half and half if they're tight, so it's not quite the strain on not just your hook, because I mean the metal hooks are pretty good, but your fingers. I've actually developed a callus right here from looming. Oh, so sad. Sometimes it really hurts. Like I bruised it. It's because I loom hardcore. I don't know where that came from, but that was weird. Keep going around. Like that. Then I flip over these ones that are just kind of around the pins. Flip those over. So now we can either bring it closer now or a little bit later, but I think we'll bring it closer now. I'm just going to bring basically them closer together so that the ends are a little bit closer. So this far pin, I'm going to bring that up one. And I'll bring this pin down one. So I still have a little space right in here where I don't have anything on the pin. I'm just gonna kind of help them so they're not spread out quite so far, so there won't be quite the stretch. So this one we're gonna bring down once we move some other things around. So the second one up I'm going to move down. This one I'll move down a pin. And this one I'll move down a pin. Like that. So I just have the empty pins in the middle for right now. Make sure your bands are pushed down. So now we're going to do another row around where we're attaching the legs basically the same way, it's just the pins are a little bit closer. So I'll start again here at this side. Grab those 2 bands that are left in the leg and put those on. Like that. Next spot is still a long stretch. Will be 2 bands. And the other, our next leg. Put those bands on. And 2 bands across the front here. Turn around. Next leg. Like that. Then 2 bands. And the last leg. And then 2 bands across the tail end. Like that. So now we have the legs all attached. So you go around on every pin and flip the bottom 4. So now we're going to unstick it, and we're going to reduce every other pin for this next portion. So I'm going to actually bring it closer yet again. So I'm just going to fill up that little space that we have on those pins. So I'll just grab any side, start bringing it up. Bring these up a pin. Just make sure you push them down. Like that. Alright, so now we need to reduce. So we need to tuck the elephant in behind that pin on both ends, which makes it a little easier. So, starting right here on this bottom corner, I'll pick up the top 2 bands. And they're coming from, let's see, from the left, so they're going to go up. And the other 2 will come across the other side. And up here in the center, grab the what's left of the center now. Top 2 bands, they're coming from above, so they're going to come below. Take your time here. It's squishy, but then I mean it's not trying to pop off the loom right now, but it's still, you're almost done. You definitely don't want to have any boo-boos now. So like that on this side, and come around to the other side. This top pin, grab the top 2. They're coming from the left, so they're going to come over to the right. And these 2 are going to come to the left. And now back to that middle pin there. Top 2. Coming from below, so they're going to go above. Other 2 will go below. Push everything down. So we're just on 4 pins now. Do a row all the way around on those 4 pins. Squish the elephant in. Last side. So on every one of our pins, you're going to have 2 reducing or 4 reducing bands in total to flip over, and then the bottom 4 from the row previous. So get those flipped over. Push your bands all the way down. And now we're ready to take this guy off the loom. You can see that it's just kind of bursting, ready to pop off, so be careful. Cover your last pin that you're going to take off with your finger or your thumb or something. And then I'm going to start up here on this kind of far away one. Stick my hook through, come around. And I have my thumb still on here and I'm pushing down as I kind of rotate around so I can get my hook over there to get it in there. So once you get it, all of the bands on your hook, just kind of pull down on it, kind of center it again like we did with the elephant's head, and take your bands, pull them through, and put both ends on, make your slip knot, and you kind of want to flatten it out before you pull too tight. And then hide your tail. Alright, so now squish the body until you feel like it's flat, and then give it a tug. Like that. And maybe you have to tug it the other way too. It should be alright though if you just do it the one way. Like that. And then, if you have, like, I think my head's okay. Might be a little, my head might be a little bit far out for me, so I just kind of go back in and tighten up my bands that are right in the neck area where we connected it together. Also, I like my ears tucked back, so I just kind of go like this, so it kind of also hides any, the neck got stretched out funny. Just kind of push my finger up through the back side of the ear, and that helps to kind of billow them back. And now, here comes the maybe not so fun part, and that is trying to get it to stand up. It does stand up. It is face heavy, or trunk heavy, I guess. So to make it stand up, what I do is you take the legs and you pull them out like this, and then pull them out like that. And then it should stand. If you still have issues, then it'll be just more tugging to reposition the legs. It's basically all that is the matter, is the legs are not wanting to cooperate. Sometimes it just involves pushing down on the pads of the feet so that they are more even, or maybe a little lower. Like so. I almost like that better than my blue one. You're so cute. You can use your hook to pull things out that you want to reposition, or but I think it is so adorable. Seriously. Super cute. Love it. Love it. Different bands, you can tell a different result. The blue one is seems like it's a little bigger even. But I hope that you successfully made your own awesome little happy elephant, because I think that they are super adorable. I really think that they're so cute. Maybe I should have made their trunks a little longer so they curved over and made a little heart. What do you think? But how my mind works at 3 o'clock in the morning. So thank you guys very much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you make one of these, you definitely have to share them with me on my Instagram, which is at craftingfantastic, or my Facebook, which is Feeling Spiffy or Crafting Fantastic. Then, of course, it'd be fabulous if you would subscribe to my channels, give my videos thumbs up, share them with your friends, so that way they know. I kind of think it's weird sometimes that like some people still that are like really heavily into looming, they've never heard of my channel. They're like, I just found you. I'm like, weird. How does that happen? And I'm not like totally like all like, oh yeah, I'm so awesome. It's more like I feel like there's so many people out there making my things and sharing them. I'm like, how do you not know? How did you not see this before? But so I definitely appreciate all the encouragement and help and sharing and creating that you guys are doing. It really means a lot to me. And thank you guys again for everything. I truly mean that. And don't forget to share these with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will definitely have more tutorials for you soon.